Right now, hundreds of millions of people are facing a really serious food crisis. It's a huge, staggering problem. But today, we're not just going to talk about the crisis. We're going to dive into a massive, coordinated effort that's aiming to finally turn the tide. And really, it all boils down to this one fundamental belief. This isn't just about numbers on a page. It's about the basic right of every single child to have a healthy start in life. That simple, powerful idea, that's the moral engine driving this whole global call to action we're about to get into. Okay, so before we jump into the plan, we really have to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this challenge. And honestly, the numbers right now are, well, they're just staggering. The world is facing a food crisis that is truly unprecedented. So let's start with the big picture. Think about this. 1 out of every 11 people on this entire planet is hungry. Just let that sink in. That single number tells you just how incredibly widespread this crisis has become. But, within that huge number, there's an even more urgent crisis brewing. We're talking about nearly 2 million people who are facing what experts call IPC level 5, which is just a technical way of saying catastrophic food insecurity. It's basically the highest emergency alert you can have. It literally means starvation and death are happening as we speak. And here's the part that is just so alarming. This isn't some problem that's just sitting still. No, it's accelerating, and fast. The number of people at that absolute catastrophic level has more than doubled in just the last year. I mean, doubled. That incredible speed is exactly why this call for action is happening right now with so much urgency. So that leads to the big question, right? Why is this happening? And why is it getting so much worse right now? Well, it's not just one thing you can point to. It's more like a perfect storm, a devastating combination of factors that are all tangled up together. So let's untangle this and break down what they are. Okay, so these drivers are super complex, and they don't happen in isolation. Think of it like this. Conflict disrupts food from getting from A to B. Then you throw in economic shocks, like soaring inflation, making food too expensive. At the very same time, climate extremes are wiping out harvests. And all of this, it just hammers the places where poverty and inequality are already entrenched. They all feed into each other, creating this vicious cycle that is just so hard to break. And that first driver we mentioned, conflict? Here's a stark, real-world example of what that looks like. The sources we're looking at point to this statement from UN Humanitarian, which confirms a man-made famine in Gaza. It's just a powerful and honestly tragic reminder that so often this kind of hunger isn't a natural disaster, it's a direct result of human actions. Wow. Okay, so with a problem this big and this complicated, it's really easy to feel a bit hopeless, right? But here's the good news. There is a plan. A huge international effort is kicking into gear to tackle this thing head on. So what's the plan? Let's get into it. So what does this response look like? Well, it's not just one organization trying to fix things. We're talking about a massive coalition. Organizations from all over the globe, all coming together with one single unified demand. And the scale of this thing is pretty remarkable. Check this out. 118 organizations from 38 different countries, all speaking with one voice. They've all put their names in an open letter, and the message to world leaders is crystal clear. Enough talk, it's time for decisive action. And this quote right here from the SDG2 Advocacy Hub, it just nails their core demand perfectly. See, this isn't just a general, please help us kind of thing. Nope. It's a very specific call for leaders to get behind a brand new initiative that's designed to make a real difference. And that initiative is called the Global Alliance. All right, so this global alliance that everyone's rallying behind, what is it exactly? Well, it's a brand new initiative, and it's being led by the G20. And its goal is both very clear and, very ambitious. So the full official name is the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. It's being led by Brazil, which happens to hold the G20 presidency right now. And its whole purpose is to put the pedal to the metal on 2 of the world's most critical goals, what are known as the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. Specifically, SDG 1, ending poverty, and SDG 2, ending hunger. So how are they going to do it? Well, the Alliance's whole strategy is built on 4 main pillars. First, providing that high-level political leadership that's been kind of missing. Second, bringing all the global partners to the same table. Third, getting the money together. mobilizing the resources. And fourth, sharing what works, the knowledge and best practices so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's a really comprehensive game plan for a super complex problem. Okay, and the timing of all this? It is absolutely critical. This isn't some plan for 10 years from now. It is happening as we speak. And the next few months are basically a make or break moment for world leaders to actually step up. This timeline really lays it all out pretty clearly. So back in July, Brazil's President Lula first announced the alliance. Then, in September, that open letter we talked about was launched to really build momentum. And it's all leading up to this one big moment, the official launch at the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro this November. And really, this is what it all comes down to. That G20 summit in Rio, that's the moment of truth. That's the big stage where the leaders of the world's most powerful economies can formally sign on, commit to this alliance, and put their political and financial muscle behind it to finally start turning the tide on hunger. And that brings us to the final, really powerful question that the campaign itself is asking. Because when you look at the analysis, it's pretty clear. We actually produce enough food to feed everyone on the planet. We have the logistics, we have the money. The only thing that seems to be missing is the political will. So the question this whole thing leaves us with is simple, but it's also incredibly profound. We have the food, we have the power. Do we have the will?